analyst here in the studio to help us make sense of the headline stories that make the round during the day, during our daily. So that's what we're going to do today. You can be part of the show as always. Send in your WhatsApp messages to 0809 444 0981. Again, 0809 444 0981. You can also stream us live because we're streaming live on YouTube. So go onto our YouTube page right now. We're on there at Smooth981 on YouTube. My guest today in the studio is Mr. C. He joins me live in the studio. Mr. C, good morning.
Good morning, Judith. Good morning, Lagos.
Good morning. Welcome to the show. Let's kickstart things today as we get into the stories. Let's go on to the Punch newspaper, and this one is from the River State Governor Wike. He says that the PDP crisis aimed at pulling me down, says Wike. Now, the River State Governor has said those plotting to pull him down by engaging in secret activities against his administration have failed. The governor claimed that part of the recent crisis within the People's Democratic Party, PDP, was spearheaded by people who, in secret meetings, plotted to pull him down. Now, he stated this yesterday at the special Thanksgiving service organized to celebrate the appointment of Honorable Justice Simon Chibuzo Amadi as the Chief Judge of River State at St. Philip's Anglican Church in Emoha, local government area of River State. Mr. C.
Okay, thank you, Judith. So, this really isn't a story, and I'm surprised that the journalists even reported this. Now, Wike was attending the Thanksgiving service for the newly appointed Chief Judge of River State, and then he dramatically alluded to certain enemies who tried to pull him down. Now, Wike is a very dramatic character, and this is not out of tune with his character. Now, beyond this story, he alludes that there have been attempts to bring him down, to bring his administration down, but he hasn't succeeded. Now, one would have thought that he would be brave enough to name the people, to identify the people trying to bring him down, and give more details. But being the dramatic individual he is, he just stopped at the general story. So, all said and done, politicians everywhere, especially in Nigeria, are dramatic. They will create news headlines to remain relevant, even though there's no substance to the headlines. And at the end of the day, it's what it is. So, Wike, well done. You've done it again, and all the best.
All the best to him. Let's move on to this one from The Sun. And it goes that Morocco develops gas pipeline project for Nigeria. That's a headline there. The government of Morocco says it has concluded plans to develop a gas pipeline project from Nigeria to Morocco through 13 countries. It equally announced the setting up of a downstream division of state-owned ONHYM to manage natural gas infrastructure. And I'm going to take a quote here from the source. It says, it's on the way. That's what the source is saying. Who asked not to be identified said it's a new entity created to take care of the downstream business. This is C.
Okay, thank you, Judith. Now, this is an interesting story, and it appears as if it is still developing because the news came from one source, Morocco. Now, there's been no response or no feedback yet from the Nigerian end. But what the Moroccans are suggesting is that there's going to be a pipeline that will run through 13 African countries that will take gas from Nigeria ultimately to Morocco and then to Europe. Now, on paper, that is very good, but there are a few questions to ask. One, is there an agreement between the 13 parties? Two, the funding for the pipeline, who's going to provide it? Three, does Nigeria have an equity stake in the project? All these details have not yet been fleshed out or finalized, and more importantly, we know the Nigerian LNG company already has 7 trains, and they've already booked down gas contracts, even future forward contracts with regards to gas. So the question now is, in addition to the other questions, this gas that will be sent to Morocco, is it uncovered by commercial contracts? And if it's not, at what rate? Will it be a rate favorable or comparable to the existing gas contracts LNG has with other business customers? So a lot of questions that are yet to be answered, and we're hoping and trusting that the Ministry of Petroleum Affairs will come up with the answers shortly.
And we're going on to Premium Times now. This is just about our economy and how much we're spending. Nigeria's cash-strapped government will likely do everything to meet its big on paper, light on impact budget, except one: cut its administrative cost. As the government deals with budget deficits year after year, it prefers to pile debt rather than cut back on a costly lifestyle that has eaten away at national budgets for decades. A key beneficiary of that extravagant culture is President Muhammadu Buhari. The president preaches prudence in government spending in public, but the budgets he signs off annually tell a different story. Now, this story goes on and on because the headline is pretty much stating Buhari spending billions on new cars while borrowing to fund the big government. Mrs. C. Very investigative, very in-depth analysis on this particular story when it comes to spending.
So yes, it is, Judith. And again, we're regaled with another incident of the presidency not willing or ready to cut down its costs. Now, in the 2022 budget, the federal government, the presidency specifically, is proposing to spend the sum of 1.6 billion on new vehicles. Now, in the 2021 budget, which is still operational, 500 million was used to buy new vehicles, or was proposed to have been spent on new vehicles. So the question now is, what sort of vehicles are they using that need to be replaced year on year? And if that was the way the ordinary Nigerian was replacing his vehicle or her vehicle, Nigeria will be one big vehicle junkyard. Now, beyond that, it's a culture of impunity, and I'm going to give some more details. Now, the presidency is proposing that the sum of 21 billion be provided for the construction of a new presidential wing in Aso Rock for the president and his family, as well as the vice president and his family. And they're also planning to spend 19 billion on software. Now, the president and the vice president currently live somewhere. What is wrong with the existing quarters? Why do we need the sum of 21 billion to be allocated now for new residences for the president and the vice president? Is this the wise way to spend money now, money that we don't have? Each week, each month, we're regaled with how the Senate has approved a fresh loan for the country. Now, 19 billion on software. Excuse me, what software are you using?
Exactly.
How many people are using the software? At what cost?
And not to even talk about our emerging software developers, small businesses that are trying so hard to, do ease of business, in Nigeria, and how all this sort of we can talk about the investment apps, all kinds of apps have been trying to do well, and there's no sort of commercial backing, and every single day there are regulations that sort of stifle them to expand and grow.
So it makes no sense. You're preaching prudence, but everything you do is the complete opposite of the prudence you're preaching. Now, there are local software developers that are very good and almost as good as the foreign ones. Are we speaking to them? Where is this software coming from? What is this software designed to do? There are no details. All we have are the amounts. And when you put this story and place it side by side with the story we took last week of the Ministry of Health asking for $5.2 million from the COVID fund for travels, which was rejected, it now makes sense. It makes a lot of sense that until our public officials learn that you cannot just spend money the way you like, but that the money must be tied to proper projects and the timing must be right. Well, we hope and pray. And this is the president that will sign out on the 29th of May, 2023.
We have messages here. We're going to take this one. This is Cisco de Gagdo. It goes, good morning, Judith. Governor Wike is not only dramatic, a comedian. Thank you so much for that there. This is Sele, and it goes, good morning. 21 billion for presidential wing and 19 billion for software is exit strategy. This engagement hammer. That's what this is about. What dirty software? Presidential management software. Haveg, and that's from Sailor. Thank you so much. This is Jerry. It goes, good morning. It's Judith and Mr. C. And it goes, this is the same lies and deceit he used to con the people who voted him to power. Very impeachable. This is Yinka there. It goes, 19 billion for software. See, Mr. C, there's no problem. What's the name of the software? They want to change cars, I beg. Let's see the old one. Let's see the old one they want to abandon. I've seen state government guys who change cars, and I'm like, this is madness. And that's from Yinka there. Let's move on to manufacturing arms as they grapple with manufacturers lose 50% half year profit to operating, and that's forex costs there. And it goes on to say the harsh operating environment aggravated by COVID-19 disruptions and foreign exchange liquidity crisis has caused the fortunes of local manufacturing firms to plunge by 50% in the first half of 2021. The manufacturers, all listed on the Nigerian Exchange Limited (NGX), were severely impacted by low capacity utilization on the account of huge import levies, exchange rate volatility, haulage cost of imported raw materials, and heavy dependency on alternative source of power that has increased the production cost by 30%. And this is really worrying. Mr. C.
Yes, it is, Judith, and it is proof that this government really does not have a solution to the problems we're facing. 2020 hit everyone hard all around the globe. Nigerian companies started to recover towards the end of 2020. First quarter of 2021 saw improved recovery. Now, you would think that with COVID behind us that things will be a lot better. But then we've now added our own unique cocktail of problems. First is the problem of getting the proper forex at the proper rates. Then you then have the energy problem where the discos are unable to transmit or give the right amount of power to the customers. Then you then have the import levy nonsense going on at the ports, where customs is just imposing all manner of duties and levies on goods and services, some of which should not be levied. Then you have the crisis at the Apapa port, where the trailers have literally turned the place upside down. And it is now cheaper to move goods from Lagos to Kaduna than to move goods from Papa to Ikeja. The cost details are shocking, and it speaks to a lack of coordination from the various government agencies and ministries. Why are they not speaking to themselves? Now, the Nigerian Customs Service is under the supervision of the Ministry of Finance. Now, why is the Ministry of Finance not sitting down with customs, sitting down with the port authorities and ensuring that, look, when goods get to the ports, that the ports are not clogged? Speak with the Lagos State government. There's a cartel and a cabal feeding fat on a traffic impasse in the Apapa area, and they continue to make money on a daily basis. That needs to stop. Now, with all of this, the manufacturers have lost 50% of their half-year profits. Will we then be shocked if more of them relocate to Ghana, relocate to other countries that have better energy solutions, better port facilities, and the regulatory landscape is a bit more certain? Certainly, we shouldn't be shocked. And what does this say? The government preaches that it's trying to ease the cost of doing business in Nigeria, and yet we have all these problems. Now, one likely consequence of this is that money is due to the federal government in the form of company income tax will reduce, because if the profits reduce, naturally the tax to be paid will reduce. Now, if this state of events is allowed to continue, these manufacturers might have to lay off the workers. Now, if they do lay off the workers, the state government, yes, unemployment, that's fantastic, yeah. But more importantly, the state government will lose personal income tax that should come to them. Pension contributions will stop. And then you then have an increasing army of unemployed, frustrated Nigerians. And with the current cocktail of insecurity we're dealing with, it's not a good recipe.
Not a good recipe at all. Let's move on. And I don't know how to describe this next story because it's just really disheartening and very worrisome. This is from Nairametrics. World Bank says 5.6 million Nigerians will fall into poverty due to high inflation. Have you seen that viral video, Mr. C, where they were looking at just the price of food commodity and how it has changed in the past year? And there was a nylon bag of palm oil that used to be 30 naira, that's now 200 naira. And a can of sardines sardines that used to be 70 naira, now 700 naira, and it's just wild. And this story just reminds me of that. So we're going to go in depth into it. The World Bank has said that the drivers of Nigeria's inflation rate are unique to the nation alone, as it differs from what is expected, what is experienced in other parts of the world. The report also claimed higher inflation could send about 5.6 million Nigerians into poverty. And I'm taking a quote here. It says, admittedly, a higher inflation reduces purchasing power, translating into higher levels of poverty and ultimately insecurity. The IMF estimates that between 2020 and 2021, high inflation may drive 5.6 million Nigerians into poverty. I know.
Okay.
I know. I know the figures are wild. I know.
So Judith, when I read the story, I was surprised that it's only 5.6 million Nigerians, because it feels like it's at least 4 or 5 times that figure. Because that means these are the Nigerians that are yet to fall into poverty. Okay, so maybe they're right. Now, Nigeria's inflation rate challenges are just off the book, and like the World Bank said, they're unique to Nigeria. Now, what are those challenges? They're caused mostly by issues such as insecurity, border closures, supply chain and logistic gridlocks, exchange rate volatility, and other issues that are hard to solve with monetary policy. So what does this tell us? This administration particularly has failed to deal with issues that it should have dealt with. Now, it's one thing to set the monetary policy, but when you wake up one day and you hear the border with Benin has been closed, and then what's the official reason given? That there's so much smuggling going on, and they're looking for a way to stop it.
Curb it.
Now, if there's so much smuggling going on, it clearly speaks to one thing: the Nigerian Customs Service is incompetent. And if that is the case, how is it that no heads have rolled? That's one. Now, when you close a border without regard to the existing treaties and agreements that have already been signed, what are you telling the larger world? That you're a lawless country, that you can do what you like, when you like. And that doesn't help the flow of foreign direct investment. Now, foreign direct investment has literally trickled to a stop over the last 6 years, and it's no surprise insecurity is one of the reasons. Now, when 5.6 million Nigerians fall into poverty, the natural human instinct is to survive. That's the first instinct. And some people will resort to crime to do that. And that is why we are seeing increasing amounts of violence in the northeast and the northwest theaters of Nigeria. Now, if that were to come down south, we'll be in a real ugly situation. Now, with all of this going on, right? Things are still hard. The regulatory landscape is still frustrating. The tech companies who can pull some Nigerians out of this poverty are being frustrated day and night by an inconsistent CBN that doesn't know what it wants to do. The thing is, be certain about what your policies are, what your laws are, and then let the people key in. But you can't shift the goalpost after the match has started. It's not done and it's not proper. And if the federal government is determined to stop this consistent pull of Nigerians into poverty, it will need to take its hands off the reins of the economy and give it to the private sector, because they are the people who have the ability and the skills and the funds to pull people out. But for as long as the government still wants to retain a dominant hold and control over the economy, that's not going to happen. And more Nigerians will be pulled into poverty.
Let's move on to this thing, newspaper Owodo. Federal government making things difficult for leaders to douse youth restiveness in Southeast. The immediate past President General of Ohaneze Undigbo worldwide, that's Chief John Enea Owodo, has noted that the federal government should be held responsible for the rising youth restiveness in the Southeast geopolitical zone, as well as the inability of leaders in the zone to douse the raging fire. He stated this in the pre-convocation lecture titled Nigeria's Political and Economic Future, The Dangers We Can Avert, which he delivered at the Abia State University, Uturu, as part of activities for the 27th and 28th combined convocation ceremony. According to him, the high-handedness, brazen impunity, and discriminatory approach the federal government has adopted in dealing with issues concerning the Southeast geopolitical zone have continued to excavate the crisis in the region. True or false?
That's a very interesting question. So let's try this.
Tried.
Okay, so the southeast of Nigeria has been a very interesting region. And from the Civil War, which was fought between 1967 and 1970, the southeast has literally appeared to be being very marginalized. Now, up here comes indigenous people of Biafra, and they're asking to succeed from Nigeria, saying that it's time for Biafra to be allowed to survive, to be allowed to exist as an independent state. So let's hold that thought there. You then have interesting people from the Islamic West African province and Boko Haram. What they want to impose their brand of law on Nigeria, and if possibly, carve out their own territories within the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So we have two completely different groups who want the same thing. But the way they're treated is completely different. So in the northeast, northwest, when Boko Haram and ISWAP fighters are caught, there's a rehabilitation program. And then we're told that when they're supposedly repentant, they're reabsorbed into society. Then in the southeast, you rush to prescribe IPOB. Personally, and the facts still remain, IPOB is literally a group of jokers. If you give them Biafra today, they don't have a plan. There's no plan on what they intend to do. They're just a group of noisemakers who are making personal money from this whole struggle and this whole noise. Now, beyond that, the military campaigns, the way the military campaigns have been conducted in the southeast, it's almost as if the federal government is suggesting to the southeast that we're at war with you again. Now, the people of the southeast are like, if you have all this energy and passion for us, how come you're not deploying this passion and energy to the areas of Nigeria that actually need the energy and passion? And it clearly shows that you can prescribe an organization, you can prescribe a legal entity, but you cannot prescribe a school of thought. You cannot prescribe the beliefs and legitimate aspirations of the people. The Constitution still guarantees Nigerians the right to freely express your opinions. Now, insofar as those opinions do not legally affect the rights of other citizens. Now, all over the world, self-determination is legal. And people will carry out referendums to determine whether territories should succeed. Eritrea came out from Ethiopia. Pakistan and India went their separate ways. Now, the bigger question is, why have we gotten to this point? We've gotten to this point because justice and equity have not been allowed to take their place in Nigeria. Now, if every region of Nigeria was ruled properly and justice and equity were allowed to operate fully, then some of these legitimate aspirations will disappear. Now, it is clear that the military high-handed approach will not work, and dialogue, a different approach should be employed, should be engaged. If you've done the same thing consistently, you cannot honestly expect to get different results. So it's a call to the Nigerian government. The same way Shigumi has told us the bandits and the terrorists are Nigerians. The people in the southeast are Nigerians. If you want lasting peace, sit down and engage with them.
And we have messages here. We're going to take them because we're almost out of time. This is Babafemi Anagbe song from our YouTube page. It goes, Mr. C is so good. articulate his analysis as so relevant and relatable. What do you say to that, Mr. C?
Thank you.
That's what you say. This one is from Josephine here. It goes, I weep for Nigeria. 21 billion naira for renovation. Is the villa heaven? This is so sickening. Let's move on here to our WhatsApp page. And this is Tayo from Ajani. It goes, with the imaginary Nigerians that federal government wants to lift out of poverty, this 5.6 million would be minor. Policy after policy, the fact still remains that poverty is visible. Well done, federal government of Nigeria. This is from Tunde. It goes, I think the IMF is wrong on this. Inflation has driven and is still driving millions into poverty. This is Yinka Boli. Goes, I know a guy, no names, works with the state government, uses a state-issued car with state government plate number. Next I saw after a while, he was giving a new car. One would think the old one will be withdrawn. No. The next time I saw the old car, it was with a new plate number. Obviously, it's been sold to him. I know I earn more than this dude, but guys, this fella's lifestyle and mine are like night and day. And that's from Yinka there. This is Emo from Ikeja. It goes, good morning. We're speaking English all over the place. This money is the reason why the politicians are there. Do we think that the loss of lives, violence during elections, using rice and soap to solicit for votes and all that are so they can get in power and rule prudently? Nothing will happen, and God will not save us. That's a very, very negative thoughts there this morning. This is Shagun. It goes, continuous raids are going on in the north. Do you want them in south? I don't get what you're trying to say. I think be more articulate there, Shagun. This is Cisco Degado. It goes, Judith and Mr. C. High inflation is already with us. It's not about it's not. May drive more than that percentage is already in poverty. And it goes on to say, Mr. C, I totally disagree with you that IPOB are a group of jokers. You need to check the reasons why there's agitation in the first place, which is restructuring. And that's from Cisco Delgado there. We're moving on to our final story today as we leave the studio because we're pretty much out of time. Sometimes we forget that there are people who are actually internally displaced in our nation here. This is where the story is coming from. It's coming from the Nation newspaper. 1,600 join IDPs in Shiroro camps, resulting from recent banditry attacks across some communities in the Shiroro local government area of Niger State. Over 1,600 displaced people have swelled the number at the internally displaced persons camps in Shiroro, and out of the number, 600 of them living in the Katu IDP camp, while 1,000 from the Kawaro community were in Kwada camp. And this number is shocking.
Okay, so very quickly, Judith, this is further proof that the security campaign can still be improved. Now, 1,600 people will not leave their homesteads and where they ordinarily reside to want to live in an internally displaced people's camp unless there's a real threat of danger and possible loss of life. Now, it speaks, now, try and picture 1,600 people having to leave any location to go to a camp. It just speaks to the general level of insecurity. And again, what are the security agencies doing? Because for them to leave, that means the territories they have left, who's going to take them over? Are you leaving them for these illegal individuals, this unknown government, Boko Haram, ISWAP, headsmen, whatever you want to call them? What is the plan? Because if the government of the day cannot protect the lives of its citizens, what then is its continued justification for remaining in power? And this is why the 2023 elections are very crucial. If we get it wrong as a nation in 2023, it will take a very long time for us to recover from it. So we have to be serious, and the recent elections don't hold a lot of joy because there's a wide disparity between the people who actually turn up to vote and the registered number of voters. Nigerians, we need to come out fully to vote. We need to state our positions, even if we are not in a position to select the candidates as they emerge from the various primaries. We must be in a position to determine who is sworn in on election on the 29th of May. 2023.
Speaking about electoral bill and voting and 2023, this is coming from the Guardian newspaper. Saraki warns against scuffling passage of amended electoral bill. The former Senate President, Dr. Abubakar Bukola Saraki, has said that the debate generated by the issue of direct primary for political parties by the National Assembly must not be allowed to scuffle the passage of the amended electoral bill. Saraki spoke with journalists yesterday at the 9th memorial prayer for his father, Dr. Olushola Saraki, at the family's Ilofa Road residence, GRA, Ilorin, Kwara State. Said according to him, the important thing is for President Muhammadu Buhari to sign the electoral bill for Nigerians to benefit from its parts. That's what he says. It goes on and on, but Mr. C, I'll let you do the justice to the story.
So very quickly, Judith. Since the amended electoral bill was passed, the governors have been up in arms against it because what obtained previously was a delegate system where the governors literally knew who all the delegates were, and it was easier to bribe them. It was easier to induce them to vote in a particular direction. Now the bill says all the members of the party should vote. Now, if you're a politician who is encouraged, who likes to induce people to do your bidding, it's a lot harder and it's more expensive. As opposed to the previous system where you just go where they're camped and you pay them and that's it. Now, the politicians are determined to hold on to power by whatever means. They're not interested in the people they are supposedly governing. All they're interested in is their selfish personal interest, and it is important that Nigerians, as a collective, in one collective voice, rise up and determine that that amended electoral bill is signed into by the president without any further amendment. It is time Nigerians had a say in how the candidates emerge.
And that's it there. We're going to round things up here with some messages. This is Osufo. And it goes, summary is that the government and politicians don't care about the citizens, just their pockets and stomach. That's from also there. This one is a final question, a message from the day. Good morning, Mr. C and Judith. With the way this government is going, I fear there wouldn't be any 2023. But why must we wait for 2023? There, last one here. This is Charles Chidode. It goes, it's interesting how we think the 2023 election is going to be a solution to many things. With the level of insecurities around, would there even be an election? And that's concerns there. Thank you so much, Mr. C, for coming forward.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. And that brings us to the very end of Freshly Pressed 981. Join me at 10 a.m. for Lagos Talks. This is Smooth Breakfast. My name is Judith, the TV.